Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dear devotees, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good middle of the morning, or some part into the morning for India. Vrindavana Shri Devirasi, very good to see you, have you with us. Lilamai Prabhu, Seva Rupa Devirasi, Kum Kum Radha Sundari. And today I probably have two connections if I'm lucky. So I'll turn on the Facebook too, so happily see the devotees there. All right, so let us begin in our little bit of becoming traditional way with a mini Vandana. And so we'll begin with mini Vandana and then continue step by step. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savarutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvijay Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, dear devotees, we are now rushing forward in the year. Somehow, for me at least, and I think maybe many devotees, Gaura Purnima sort of signifies the year really has begun, because all the devotees throughout the winter, often some devotees, especially in the later years, they're staying in Navadip and then staying through until Gaura Purnima. And then Gaura Purnima, the devotees mainly returning to their homes, to their jobs, to the duties that they have at home. And then in Navadip, everything will become somewhat quieter, basically, for the next few months. And Nrsimha Ram Navami is coming up, Nrsimha Chaturdasi is coming up, and then presently Jagannath Rath Yatra. Gurudev, now of course on the calendar is Srila Gurudev's disappearance day. So that is coming up quite soon. It's the Saturday after next, if I'm not mistaken. It's the 20th. No, that means 3 Saturdays away, doesn't it? 3 Saturdays away. The 20th this year. But these are like not pinpoint, they're one-day festivals or like that coming up, and usually not so many devotees from the West would be in Navadip. And so from now on through until, excuse me, nobody's yet told me how the newscasters don't sneeze. What's the secret? Anyway, so until Guru Maharaj's Vyasa Puja in October, November time, Kartik time, usually the mat is quite quiet. This is my point. This is why it feels like the year with Gaura Purnima passing And then the Hapanya festival was sort of the end of the Gaurupanima program. And then whoever was remaining at that time, usually they're heading homeward. And so the year of 2024 is well underway. This is our feeling. Okay, I'm just typing in back to basics. Okay, we'll come on to Facebook and just happily be with you on Facebook. We are on Facebook, so but I know and who's there. All right. Wonderful. So those of you on Facebook, those of you who are seeing the recording seeing the live recording, then to all of you, then happily with you with my obeisances and happily knowing we're together. All right. And in Europe, our clocks changed 2 hours ago. So strange system, clocks going backwards and forwards. But here we are. All right, so we just finished the festival of Hapanya. We've just finished Gaurupanima, and now we have a year's journey ahead of us. And now our duty for us all is to remember the festival days, remember our association, remember what we've heard, and keep our momentum going. Keep our practices, keep our chanting, keep our reading, keep our seva going. And not only keep it going, but try to see how to improve always, or how to do something a little extra, and give ourselves some challenges. In the work field, then people are always either being given challenges by their bosses, you have to have this in by this deadline, or we give ourselves challenges in the work field, how we'll do something extra. Then in the material world, we tend to see the results by getting extra sales, extra bonus, extra paycheck, extra, something comes as a result. But in the spiritual plane, we're not doing it for results. We're doing it because we know that we should be devotees. And so we're trying to make our life oriented in the proper direction, the direction that savor, chanting the holy names of the Lord, chanting the holy names of the Lord, chanting the holy names of the Lord. This is our life. This is the life of the residents of Vrindavan, and we are being given that chance to change ourselves, to show ourselves willing to change. And just that willingness, that wanting to, and putting into practice that, not just sitting back and thinking about it, but putting it into practice, making some steps towards Krishna, making some steps that, yes, I understand, I'm trying to get myself into the proper frame, the proper association. The proper association for the mind means through the scriptures and through the saints and sadhus and their direction. And we've got this opportunity. Somehow we've got some good luck, at least we say some good luck somewhere, that we've come to proper guidance and proper connection. And now we do have, as Guru Maharaj says, to some extent, now it is in our hand as to how fast or slowly we proceed, or if we go back. So we can't just rely on grace from above. We have to show ourselves like willing for that and hankering for that. And the Sanskrit word, some of you know, is laulyam. It is there in Upadeshamrita. And laulyam means hankering. To hanker is part of life. To be alive is we have some desire. We want to do something. We have willing, we have feeling, and we have thinking. Three things that come with life. A stone really does not have any willing, feeling, or thinking. It's just sitting there. But we, as the marginal energy of the Lord, as the living energy of the Lord, who is tiny, but he, she, we have that propensity for three things. This willing, feeling, and thinking. So the willing part, when it's used for mundane desires, it is bad for us. But when it's used for our spiritual journey, it is good for us. And so this way, the one word laulium has been told, oh, we must leave the laulium of the material world, the hankering for the things of this world. But at the same time, the same word laulium, we should have laulium for the upper plane and for achieving the goal, the proper destination of life, changing ourselves so we can have higher association. So the festival, many festivals, and the festivals still go on wherever there are devotees. And in fact, we're having a little festival now because we've got each other and we're able to come and sit down together and we're able to have a little chat, means discuss some of these topics that Gurudev, Guru Maharaj, and Srila Prabhupada are giving to us for our nourishment. So, I don't want to talk, or I'm happy to talk. Once we get going, we actually we can be quite chatty, I suppose. But we do want to hear from you all. And we'll just welcome Ishwarananda Prabhu because he's there in the snowy mountains of Salt Lake City. So when we see you, we also get a little outdoors. We're now going to the ski lift. But you're not in the ski lift now, are you? No. Yes. Oh, you're in
I
this.
am.
Oh, what time does your shift finish?
We are doing night skiing, so it finishes at 9 p.m.
Night skiing. Yes. Okay.
Big bright lights. Anyways, I don't mean to disturb. I'm happy to listen.
No, Prabhu, you're not disturbing. We're happy to just join you and to know that you're there in that adventurous zone. All right, but we will come now to Kumkum Didi and invite her to say a few words, and many words, not just a few words. We've got Kumkum, and she's a treasure, you all know, from Srila Prabhupada's time, Prabhupada's association, Guru Maharaj's time, Guru Maharaj's association, Gurudev's time, Gurudev's association, and she's now kindly still associating with us. So we appreciate it very much, Kumkum Didi.
Dandavat Maharaj and all of the Vaishnavas here. Your words are so kind, and obviously there is no one who should not jump into this association for their own happiness. And Ishwarananda Prabhu has reminded me of how I was so fortunate to start this new Vaishnav year in the association in Sweet Lake City with it's worth going there for no other reason than for the kirtans. So, especially on the evening of Gaur Purnima, everyone dancing ecstatically, just jam-packed. And earlier in the day, I was able to witness Ishwarananda Prabhu and several others nonstop service, making all the arrangements, making the temple beautiful and the decorations. And then the next day, the flowers came so much, it took them 2 carloads of donated beautiful flowers to bring them to the temple. That program was set up by Divya Shakti Didi. So, of course, it was wonderful to also get her association, Braja Mohini Didi, Shama Mohini, and many others. And then to hear Srileka Didi's nonstop preaching. She always gets back to the same point about utter surrender to Mahaprabhu is our necessity, our great necessity. And here being Hapaniya visit, thinking especially of the first time we got the great association of Srila Guru Maharaj. And my question, which just came very naturally, was how to keep the holy Dham in my heart wherever I may go. And his answer was by intense earnestness. And now I can think of so many times how he's constantly speaking of this intense earnestness, and everything is helping us to get to that intense earnestness, which is, as you were saying, the lolyam. And if we have that, then we will be completely happy and we will know our place. We'll have no questions, no mental deliberation at all. And this in the beginning of Sermons 1, actually the very first chapter, our homeward journey, Srila Guru Maharaj says, any experience about the Lord must come from upper to lower. It does not depend on us. We can only increase the intensity of our hankering, of our serving attitude, sevan mukta. And whether he will descend to this plane or not depends on his whim. There is transcendental substance. He moves according to his sweet will. He may come down or he may not. At his whim, he is free. We can only increase our earnestness for his presence. Although the potency and the potent are inseparably connected, we must generally know ourselves to be of the marginal potency. He is everywhere. He is nowhere. Everything is within him. Nothing is in him. Such is his peculiar and mystic position, as explained in Bhagavad Gita 9, 4, 5, and 6. Thus, our duty is to try to serve him. We should not put much emphasis in feeling him rather than either by mind, by body, or even by intelligence. He is everywhere and he is nowhere. In a flash he may show, yes, I am here. Yet when we are earnestly searching for him, he may be nowhere to be found. His nature is independent. We can search, but we cannot say that we shall find him. So he goes on to explain so much, so beautifully in this mood of try to serve him, even remotely. Even remote service is also service. Through his devotee, it becomes tangible. We should try to serve him through his devotees without expectation of any reward. We should have no desire except to serve, even without expecting to see him once, to have his darshan. So this is very encouraging to us to simply continue, whether we're feeling it or not. The instructions are there so that we will keep practicing and practicing and practicing. And then by his will, he may make himself known to us or encourage us or not encourage us or whatever, but we are his servant. That's our position. We are his potency. It reminds me even of, I saw in Salt Lake City, there was a dog who was serving his master. The master was actually in a wheelchair. And so the person in the wheelchair couldn't do an awful lot. But at one point, they came to a street corner and the dog knew to go and pick up the leash and pull the chair across the street for his master. And I was just thinking, all clarity about what is my service. I may get pat on the head or not, but I was thinking in that particular soul's temporary position, they're completely happy because all they're thinking of is my master wants me to serve and I have some service.
Beautiful. And that example of the faithful dog is also given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Sharanagati. I just pray, I'll be your faithful dog, dear Lord. I just want to be your faithful dog. I will be there waiting outside. I only live on your remnants. And when I hear you call, I'll gleefully come, wagging my tail. I'll be coming. Well, it doesn't say wagging his tail. I think it says in ecstasy. I will come with great joy to serve you. Yes, Master, here I am. Beautiful. And Kumkumdi is so happy to hear of your visit. Like, what is the news of your visit to Salt Lake, to Sweet Lake City? Kirtan and Harikatha, glorification of the devotees, the glorification of surrender. And then other things, or the weather, the whatever it is, but the prominent thing was Kirtan and the Harikatha. And this is what is so valuable about coming together, not to miss that opportunity to engage in Kirtan. And in Sweet Lake City, Salt Lake City, it is the home of Kirtan. The devotees who come from there, they usually can play the mridanga, they know the tunes for the songs, they're a good representation, good representatives of the Salt Lake City ashram. And we have 3 of them here right now, so we know they're coming and going. And next devotee going, unfortunately, Gauranga, Jai Gauranga Prabhu of Salt Lake City, young, but not so young. By now, he's been a few years as a devotee. We think, oh, young, but few years as a devotee. I don't know exactly how many. And very nice example. So he's not letting down the Salt Lake City reputation. They're keeping it up. And Ashapurna, and we just had we just had one other who returned. Excuse me, missing the name just now. Jayu Kauranga's friend. There she was here. Hare Krishna. And can you give us one other little bit of news from Salt Lake City? Anything else that comes to mind?
Well, I was definitely just thinking about the how obviously everyone should simply go there. I'm really fortunate. It's like the plane is going to take off, and before you know it, you're landing. And of course, the temple is not far from the airport, so it's really a good association. And to see all of the devotees coming together, there's so much harmony. And one thing I'll say about their kirtans too, they're completely mad to go deeper and deeper and deeper into kirtans. Some incredible ability to memorize every kirtan, but with so much desire to hear it, to be a part of it, to serve the Vaishnava songs by singing them. And everybody can really tell that. So everybody wants to join in those kirtans, and the depth is unbelievable. So.
And the neighbors are happy?
Yes, I saw plenty of happy neighbors.
It's quite surprising because it is in a residential street. And yet they told me, no, the neighbors, they never complain. But
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Even perhaps like Ishwarananda Prabhu, the families there are very favorable to someone trying to learn about the Lord, even if the philosophy is different than their own. But they have a great appreciation for people leaning toward God consciousness, and that's the environment. So that contributes in a lot of ways.
It's a Mormon town for those who don't know. I mean, Salt Lake City was founded by the Mormons. I don't know the exact history, but it has a religious foundation. And we find that the people are very well behaved, very polite and respectful. And there is an auspicious atmosphere in the air. And where we are is near where they have their main temple, isn't it? I think it's the Mormons, I think, worldwide central temple now, and called the temple in the center of town.
Yeah. Streets are all named according to their proximity to that center, like 100 block, 200 block, 100 this way. Ishwarananda Prabhu and the others could tell you better.
Okay, interesting.
But yes.
In London, the streets all have names, but in Salt Lake City and other cities in America, they kind of ran out of names. They just did numbers, didn't they? First west, second west, third north, second north, whatever it may be like this. All right, perfect. Many thanks for sharing, for taking us not only to Oregon, but to Salt Lake City and to the Kirtan and to the Harikatha.
The only complaint I have is that, and they have heard this plenty, they don't record live enough or broadcast enough. Everyone all over the world could hang on their every kirtan if they would broadcast.
Oh, well, we'll put in a petition and see whether the mass petition will give some pressure to them. Hare Krishna. And we have a hand coming up from Vrindavaneshwari. We've got I don't know what you call that. Thumbs up, happiness hand from Ganga Leela Devirasi. And we've got smiling faces from everybody. Jai.
Jai Dandavat, Gurudev. I have a question about something that about in our everyday reading meet we do to read about Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and other books. The first time I read about something that is, even if the pure devotee is offered all kinds of liberation, he does not accept them. So the first time I thought, what? Like if my father calls me, I just go, no complaint. But today, this morning, once again, it came to our reading. But this time, I thought different. I feel like doing seva with all sincerity and love, truly surrendered, develops the greatest expression, I think, of humility in one. And being truly humble, you do not aspire to anything other than your worship of God. So it seems to me that no one will ever want to go to Goloka Vrindavan like that, unless Krishna kidnaps you. I'm correct?
That's it. Sounds like a very practical example. To be kidnapped by Krishna. To be kidnapped by Krishna and his agents also. And means his agents, means his servitors. And in this world, to be a servant doesn't sound so sweet in one sense, but to be a servant to a good master is a very happy position. And so our tangible connection, and this, Srila Guru, you'll see this everywhere when you're reading, our tangible connection, stressed by Guru Maharaj and Gurudev, is the service of the servants, to be connected with the devotees. And so when our master will go there, wherever our master goes, we will go. This kind of attitude. And the dog, the faithful dog to his master, he just happily goes where his master goes, but he's not going separately somewhere else. So our master gets up and goes to another state or another country, then yes, we are going, we are serving. So this kind of relationship, this bondage within the Vaishnava service mood, this will be our safe position. And kidnapped by Krishna, that's one thing, but to be faithfully continuing with our associates and devotional connection, then this will be another kind of not quite voluntary kidnapping, that, oh yes, where my master is, I only want to be there. But this idea too that in the beginning, say, oh, we don't want mukti, we don't want liberation. But when we've got a higher destination, and even there everything is relative. Relative Worlds is the title of a small book of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And there he's showing in the material worlds, things are relative, we know it. There's a village in the middle of the jungle in Africa, and there is a New York City. They're not the same. They're not the same standard. And even in New York City, you make it to New York City, you've got all kinds of standard, from those who live on the street to those who are struggling in a tiny apartment and paying a huge, rent every week, to those who live in penthouses. So there is relativity everywhere. And so what Mahaprabhu is giving, this is the gem of the gem, the destination which is almost unthinkable by the residents of Vaikuntha, the plane of service, but the plane of service as servant to a king, that kind of kingly relationship with the Lord. The Lord is the king, and we are in that plane of fitting in there into the service of the grand Lord. Grand, affectionate, everything is perfect, but the embodiment of extreme affection and love, beauty, Krishna, that embodiment, reality, the beautiful, that destination of Goloka Vrindavan is being given by Mahaprabhu and given by Mahaprabhu and those who are serving him. So we don't want to, the devotees, they don't want to go anywhere except that destination which has been given. And Srila Gurudev gives an example of going on an express train. And India is quite big. They have trains, they have a railway network in India. Brazil is a little different. Nobody built much of a railway network in Brazil, even though it's such a big country. But India has got a whole railway network. Really, it's an amazing network of rail. But if you want to go from Calcutta to Mumbai, Bombay, it's quite a long way. But you take an express train. You don't take the local train that stops everywhere and then go down side journeys, even though they may be attractive places. They may have their charm, this, that, and the other, but your destination is Bombay. So if somebody gives us a local train ticket to a village, somewhere which is between here and Bombay, but it's not what we want. It gets us out of our village, but it's not our destination. So Srila Gurudev, it's an example for a certain purpose, and that is we want to be on the express train and not get off anywhere and not go down any side line. Branch in India, they say branch line. I am living on branch line of Northeast Railway, whatever description it may be. So we don't want mukti, and we don't want also even the liberation in Vaikuntha in general, which sounds incredible, but really this is the supremacy, the supreme position of Goloka Vrindavan, given by Mahaprabhu, described in Srimad Bhagavatam, and by Mahaprabhu very carefully, by Krishnadas Kaviraj, who's recorded Mahaprabhu's life and his teaching, everything for us, very carefully described for us. And in our Western understandable languages, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Gurudev have given us this great prospect. So yes, in the beginning, maybe a little shocking to hear, we don't want liberation from birth and death, old age and disease. I thought that's why we came. But then as we chant, as we engage in service, then little bit more of dirt is cleared and more comes to us. We may read the same thing that we read last year or the year before, but during the process, where by the grace of the Lord and our masters, by the grace of above, then we see deeper things within. And so, yes, initially, it is a big inspiration in this world which doesn't give any prospect of relief from old age, disease, death, birth, death, suffering. There's no permanent relief given by any of the great scientists here. Maybe a promise that we can make your body last forever by replacing every part one by one over the next continuous recycling process of your organs over the next 10,000 years. But if you're alive even, what's the prospect in this world? It is, where is the inner satisfaction? Only danger of epidemic, of war, of bereavement, of all kinds of things, famine, adhyatmic, adibhotic, adidevic, the three kinds of sufferings that come to the living entity. So in the beginning, it's attractive. Oh, I can get free from here. But then bit by bit, by the grace of Mahaprabhu and his associates, then we're coming to understand finer things. And oh yes, we've come across not just a relief boat, but a relief boat to take us to this special island, which is perfect. People go to the Caribbean on expensive cruises. They go to Hawaii. They go to different places. This prospect that, oh, there's a perfect place where you just drink martinis and lays on the beach. But if you just drink martinis and lays on the beach, you still have to do something. It's only a temporary relief from the pressure of the office and of the things that are taking place at home. Soon enough, you have to be active and do something. And where we do something most valuable is Goloka Vrindavan. And not only we do something most valuable, we do it out of love. We want to do it. We're energized to do it out of affection, out of love. We want to participate there. And I can say, Srila Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he gave us really a little view of such a beautiful plane of life. And by his grace, we've got Guru Maharaj. By his grace, we've got Srila Prabhupada, actually. To know Srila Prabhupada, to understand more and more. And by his grace, we've got our connection in that very family, as we are describing, to be the servant of the servant, to be the servant of those connected, really connected in that plane. This is our super opportunity. Gurudev gave us a window of that beautiful life, and we want to keep this forever, not as a history item, but this is where we are substantially connected in this world. So yes, Vrindavaneshri, don't get off the train on the way to Goloka Vrindavan. The destination is there, and many examples given that, yes, only the destination. Why settle for less? Something like that. With regard, full regard everywhere, no problem. Everyone's on some part of that journey, and we pass through so many places. And in your reading in due course, I'm sure, I don't know when it will be, it may be a long time ahead, because you really should read all of Gurudev's books and all of Guru Maharaj's books, but Brihad Bhagavatamritam is waiting, and it is a wonderful description of everywhere from the mundane up, and what amazing places in the higher planets of this universe, amazing places are there. But then we come more and more and more as we come to the permanent serving world. But then more and more and more coming to the acme, the peak, and that's the Goloka Vrindavan, land of Krishna. And the entrance to that, the access to that, is through Gauranga, who is Radha Krishna combined. Is through the service of Gauranga, through the holy name, all these things. And a little clarity comes the more we are doing like you are doing. Daily reading, daily chanting, daily reading with the devotees as you can. And little clarity sometimes comes, and we must keep that little clarity and not let it be put in the background. But yes, this is the ambition of what we're doing day by day. That laulium, we were saying this word, hankering for that plane. Beautiful Vrindavaneshri, I appreciate you sharing that. And Paramananda Prabhu has joined us. And I just quickly go here to see. So, to all of those who've joined us who I haven't personally greeted, my personal greetings to each of you on Facebook. On Facebook also, always happy to have Jagamohini Didi with us, Madhava Prabhu with us, and our excuse me, It's early in the morning for me today. I'm a big monster. Please excuse me. To all of you on Facebook and all of you here on Zoom, please excuse me. Matura Basin, excuse me. I can see your names. Only if somebody sends a message on Facebook can I actually, I mean, not a message, but a comment, can I actually see who's there. I think Lee Lemoy has some mystic power to see more who are there. And here on Zoom, so many have gathered, and we're very happy to have each of you with us, seeing all of your names. But we do have Paramananda Prabhu here, and he's in maybe Japan. He does move around the world by special mystic power to travel halfway around the world in a day, or day and a half, maybe, for halfway around the world, but still, no, one day for halfway around the world. It's amazing. Prabhu, Paramananda Prabhu, we invite you to share some treasures.
Maharaj, I was hoping just quietly sit and listen. I'm always in a mundane environment, deeply absorbed in dealings on that level. So it's kind of a little bit of a fresh air for me, just to be in the company of the devotees once in a while. And yes, I'm in Japan, so it's not so easy here to get a company of the devotees. Occasionally we do, but most of the time it is not. Then what shall I say, Maharaj?
That is up to your inspiration. And as you
Well,
wish to say, you've been with us for a little while, I think, and I don't exactly know when you joined, but
I joined 11:10 to be precise.
Okay. So from 11:10 till now, we know
So
that
I heard Kumkum did
generally
this.
has got some fresh view of many things which we discuss. If you wish, Prabhu.
I heard Kumkum did his description of her visit to Sweet Lake City, which was
Yes.
wonderful always, and we're anxiously awaiting for arrival of Sudarshan Prabhu and Raikishori Didi to Chiang Mai next month.
Next month.
Hoping to have those kirtans together.
Do they have their tickets coming through Vila Govinda? No.
Well, I don't know, Maharaj. Still not tickets, just a passport. So it's a good time to call them.
Okay.
And see if they can book the ticket that stops in Vila Govinda for a few days. Actually, good idea. And Vrindavaneshwari question was very nice too. And that reminded me of one verse that Srila Guru Maharaj, if we listen to him, he quotes it quite often, but he quotes just a part of it. It's a beautiful verse and it's fully related to that by Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur. Kaivalya Narakayate Tridasapura Akasha Pushpayate Durdatindriya Kalasarpapatali Prathatadam Strayate Vishwa Purnam Sukhayate Vidhi Mahendra Dishchakitayate Yat Karunya Kataksha Vaibhavatam Tam Gora Eva Stuma. So Guru Maharaj quotes the Vishwa Purnam Sukhayate quite often in his talks, here and there. And just in short, the translation is for the devotee, for the one who was very fortunate to receive just a drop of Mahaprabhu's mercy. And is described Karunya Kataksha, a sidelong glance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just a tiny bit of mercy. For him, Kaivalya is just like a hell, the liberation is just like a hell. And everything else have no sense. The heavens have no sense. The position of Brahma, the position of Indra have no value at all. So again, we come to this point that everything we have, I mean, in our situation, our opportunities to have that association, to hear about Krishna, to hear about the residents of Vraja, is all by his grace. Actually, he is the biggest promoter. Krishna himself coming as Mahaprabhu to promote what? That highest devotion that can only be found in Goloka Vrindavan. He does nothing else, just that. And as always, when Krishna comes, there's so many tasks, inconceivably infinite tasks are accomplished. And of course, he spreads the holy name, he gives the Yuga Dharma and so many other things. But really, his main reason is to spread the glories of the servitor in that plane, the Galoka Vrindavan. And since Maharaj, you invoked Brihad Bhagavatamrita, if you read Mangala Charanam prayers, very beginning of this work by Sanatana Goswami, in one of the verses, he is saying that no one can even start properly describing the glories of the residents of Braja who are so dear to Lord Krishna. No one can do it. It's impossible. It's inconceivable. To the point that Krishna himself is unable to not only understand, he is also unable to describe it properly. It's so high, it's above his powers. Think about it. He is all powerful. He's Ishvara Parama Krishna. Full in himself, everything is coming from him, and he is here and yet he is not there, and so many other qualities that are described. He is all powerful Lord, and he cannot properly describe and cannot understand what do they feel. So that's why he's coming as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wants to know, he wants to dive deep into that mood. So how high is that place? And on the other hand, how simple is that place? Compared to, again, if we go back to Brihad Bhagavatamrita, there's a beautiful description of Vaikuntha world. Vaikuntha planets, Vaikuntha cities, relationship with the Lord. All is described. And then there's seemingly very simple place like Vrindavan. It's described in a very simple way, but in the same time, full of infinite sweetness. So we're all hankering for that situation, for that position. We all want to go there, and there's no shame in it. After all, Srila Guru Maharaj is saying that we have to develop that lowly and that hankering to go to that plane. But in what mood? That is the question. So the mood always comes first. This is the first consideration. Are we going there in a mood of enjoyment? Forget about it. Impossible. You will not make it even to the, well, maybe to the heavens. You're probably going to make it. But higher than heavens, as we find out in Brihad Bhagavatam, it will be difficult in that mood. It will get you just there. But in the mood of service, that mood of complete surrender, complete dedication, mood of service, that will get you to Galoka Vrindavan. But as we know in the process, we hear so many stories about the great Vaishnavas of the past, and we actually do know great Vaishnavas of the present too. So in those stories, they may start some service thinking, oh, we're going to gain this or we're going to gain that. But in the process, they develop so much attraction to the service itself that they forget about their purpose. They just want to continue with their service. So they acquire that sweet mood. So that is the destination we're all heading to. And hopefully in a proper mood. And one good thing to remember is that it is not a place of imagination. So we hear sometime we hear from some different places misconceptions being spread that we can imagine that place. They have nothing to do with our imagination. We have no capacity whatsoever. In fact, no one have that capacity, including Lord Brahma. Even he cannot imagine about that place. So again, emotions and devotion. So we have to stick to the second and leave aside the first. And everything will be revealed through that. Full surrender, full dedication, service mode. Then, where we can be, like Srila Guru Maharaj says, one day we will find ourselves, we may find ourselves in that world. And we will be guided by our seniors, and they will take us to Kusum Sarovar to collect the flowers. We may even be able to make garlands, and then the seniors will take it to the divine couple, Niradakun. So it is all given to us. The prospect is so beautiful. So now it's up to us. And Krishna consciousness is very simple. The only necessity is sincere hankering. Again, we hear it from Srila Guru Maharaj. Everything we got is from the representatives of that world, the agents of that world. So they are stealing us. Yeah, that's a beautiful description. Krishna is described as a thief after all. So if he is like that, then what to speak about us? That's Srila Gurudev's quote when he saw a big picture of Krishna in the newspaper in Govardhan stealing butter. And he turned it over and said, oh, if he's like that, then what to speak of us? So his agents, they also have that quality. They're stealing our hearts. And even though we may be not in the mood, we don't understand much, they conquer our hearts by sweetness, by love, affection. And that's what keeps us going.
Jai Shila Gurudev, Jai Shila Guru Maharaj. They have given us this insight, and it's by their grace that we can come anything near these things that we're talking about. Otherwise, where would we be? We'd just be floating around as we were before. I mean, floating around without any proper direction. Hare Krishna, very good, Paramanandapu, to have you with us and sharing. And now when you say, oh, I've been immersed in the material world, I'm sure you've been remembering Hapanya, remembering Navadip and all these things these last days. And I have to say here, we've been very like Hapanya centered for a couple of days in the preparation and there. So, you know, and being there, the festivals, and it just did remind me yesterday with the Brazilian devotees, and it reminded me that we can look on the calendar and see many of the dates. So just like, okay, what is it today? And then we read, okay, such and such a festival or such and such a festival. But with the Hapanya festival, really try to like remind devotees, it's not just a day on a calendar that we have a name that we give a jai to in the morning for a festival. Really, they're like super days in the calendar that Gurudev followed, that the whole of the devotee community of our family in India followed. And the Hapanya festival kind of marks the end of the Gaura Purnima time. So this is where we began probably before you joined us today, was it feels like, oh, now the Hapanya festival is over. Now the few remaining devotees, they'll probably be going home or going to do seva in Calcutta, doing some preaching, distribution, collection in Calcutta, and the mat becomes very quiet until October, actually, with a few festivals in the middle. So we've been quite sort of absorbed with the devotees and in the Hapanya festival mood, Guru Maharaj mood, pilgrimage mood. And then Paramanandapu makes us feel so selfish because we're surrounded by devotees, and now he's saying, oh, I'm here in Japan, surrounded by the mundane environment. But surrounded by that, we have to say, surrounded by that for what? For seva, for service. Using the fruits of the seva, fruits of the supposedly mundane activity, using everything in service. We see that selflessly. So an example for everybody. Each devotee is an example in so many ways of different aspects of devotional service. And when I look at each of you, I can think immediately some example of each one. Hare Krishna. And by the way, please excuse me, Ananya Sundari, if you come to see, is Ananya Sundari, who's our third Salt Lake Cityan or Sweet Lake City devotee. But she returned back to Sweet Lake City. She was presumably in the kirtans in the last few days in Salt Lake City there. Hare Krishna. And I see in the chat box, oh, Gangalila, she's been doing Sankirtan with Nitai and Gauranga. My goodness, that must be an amazing Sankirtan. Gangalila writes, we are just in a 3-day Kirtan Mela in Laguna Beach. We went on Harinam with Nitai and Gauranga. My goodness. And Muktinath Prabhu sending his Dandavat. Muktinath Prabhu in Bangkok. This is their day off. Yes, Sunday is their day off. They're working very hard in a responsible job, and we're very happy that Krishna has given you that opportunity. But today they'll do, probably doing again the program in the park for the public. Very good. Hare Krishna. Govinda, Govinda. Rupanuga Prabhu, Nadia Sundari Devi Rasi Dana, and Pavan Krishna Prabhu, and Kamala, she's here. Your Kamala is here, also from Bangkok. She's here, and being a very exemplary devotee, representing you very well here. And Priyanana Devi Rasi, always absorbed in devotional items. Suresh Krishna Prabhu returned safely to Resigne, with a sudden festival on his hand, which I had no idea about until 3 days ago, and I think Suresh Krishna didn't have any idea about until 3 days ago. But we'll report more on that later. But suddenly a festival has come to his doorstep, it seems, with Mohanananda Prabhu and Nadia Sundari blowing some kind of a trumpet, a festival trumpet there in the icons. And a little group of us, and Lynn very regularly with us, we appreciate. And yes, Radha Sundari, they've been with us from the beginning there in Salt Lake City. And Priya Bhakta Prabhu there in Australia, happily looking at warm Australia. We're all wrapped up. And Kelly Kadambar and Abhinava, they're, I'm sorry to say, a little bit constantly cold, no matter how many clothes we give them, coming from Australia to springtime in northern Italy. But it's a little bit of a chilly springtime at the moment, we have to say. And Seva Rupa Devi Rasi, holding the flag of South Africa happily. Hare Krishna. And Krishna Mohini Didi joined us. Welcome on Facebook. So to all of you with us, I think today we'll continue our daily program. And we are today, from now on, we're not going to be so early over here in Europe because we're at a sensible time of day, and it was not long until the morning program is actually going to begin here. Because here in Vila Govinda Ashram, 5 a.m., and we do have participants, it's not only me. We chant japa outside where possible, and often, I mean, myself, near the Samadhi, Pushpa Samadhi of Gurudev. So we do encourage the devotees, well, everywhere, to be up early, not to get up at the last minute, just before Mangalati, run down and come and join the Mangalati, but to get up before and chant. And so we have our japa time, and it's like Thailand, where we sit outside, and so wonderful that time early in the morning, before this, from the dark, and then when the first light of day comes in. It's a wonderful time of day, and so special. And devotees do chant on the rosary, that they chant japa. And so it is a very suitable time. So here in Vila Govinda also, so now 5 o'clock, devotees, we can spy and see who came this morning. But 5 a.m. here, instead of being very early, it's normal early. So our day is going to continue. So you can join us by heart, and whenever you can, as you do in your different places, do join the devotees in person for kirtan and prasadam, as well as the Hari Katha and the association. So with much appreciation to you all, one by one, and of course our huge appreciation to our masters, Jai Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Rakak Srila Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, our whole Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Vaga Ki Jai, all the present day acharyas, the Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Brinda ki jai, all the assembled devotees ki jai, and headed by Kumkum Devi Dasi ki jai, Paramananda Prabhu, and each of you, all of the old devotees and young devotees. Priya Bhakta Prabhu, do I call you an old devotee? He's ever young, but he's an older devotee. And to each of you, to Jagamohini Didi, into Krishna Mohini Didi, to all of our devotees, and who are there, Mathura Basini Didi, they're all senior devotees. In the association of the senior devotees, to all devotees, we're not really thinking senior and junior, except in our proper etiquette way, we do think, but everybody is a senior devotee because you're a devotee. So to you all, jais and our humble obeisances. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha, kripa sindubhya evacha, patitanam pavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo, namo namaha. And of course, all
Bhaktiranjan Matsur Maharaj ki
Hare
jai.
Krishna. Because all who've listened and seen through until here in the recorded version also, our appreciation to you all and obeisances. Wishing you a successful Seva week. Meet you all very soon. Pavan Krishna Bhu turned on his camera. Have a successful afternoon. Make Bangkok Krishna conscious. Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Ami Ashichi.